if you start doing something, the next step will come because in the process, you start thinking about things will come to you. I used to say I relied a lot on a vision in the night to give me that idea, but doing it will help you get that vision.
Legacy starts the moment you start your business. This is something that we're going to be talking about today. I'm Denise Wakeman, the publisher of Your Visibility Edge, and I have my guest today here is Vicki Peel, and she is an expert at helping business owners with their life and business legacy, figuring that out when it starts. And this is her thing that she says, and that's why I'm quoting it, is that your legacy starts when your business starts. So welcome, Vicki. I'm really happy to have you here today because I've been wanting to talk to you about your legacy living framework. Was it legacy living framework? I got it right. I kept saying it wrong when I was practicing it.
That's okay, Denise. I'll probably say it 2 or 3 different ways too. But thanks for having me.
Okay, so I think that we should start, at the beginning. So, what does legacy mean to you when you're referring to it in the work that you're doing? And I also know you have a framework called the COPE framework, COPE. So how did those two connect? So, because that seems to me like it's one question. What is business
Yeah.
legacy? And then what the framework is and how you approach it.
Well, when I'm thinking of legacy, I'm thinking of, okay, what are you doing with your life that you're leaving for whoever else is around you? You do it every day. So you're living your legacy. So what people see me do or say or think or whatever, that's part of the legacy. And then, of course, it's the legacy that you leave behind. But in terms of a business, I think the same things apply to business as they do to life in terms of how to implement this. And the COPE framework, that's the framework within which I apply legacy living. It's kind of a blueprint for how you move through it. For instance, COPE stands for, first of all, clear clutter. Clear clutter, organize, preserve, and empower. And clear clutter means in terms of business, if you've got, let's think in terms of digital files, for instance. If you've got a mess, how can you find what you're looking for? You're wasting time, you're you're wasting energy. And what have you got in terms of saving it for later? You know, so it just steals your time and energy and your joy. So then clearing clutter means getting rid of the things that don't matter. You don't need anymore or you don't want, and that you focus on just what matters, which that's based upon your values and whatever business framework that you're working with. And then when you finish that, and it's an ongoing process, you never finish anything. Okay.
I
The
would
whole
say
thing
so.
is integrated and ongoing, everything. So then you organize what's left into using a system that works so that you can find what you want when you need it. And that's the simplest way to put it. And then preserve means to keep what matters, archive it, document it, your legacy assets, whatever you want that applies to your business. For instance, who in addition to you needs to know where to find anything? What if an emergency happens? What do you have in place for people to be able to find that? And then empower is really a kind of a byproduct, because when you go through this process and you get rid of what doesn't matter and you organize what does, and you have a way to preserve what you want to preserve and to pass on, then you feel empowered. You get the confidence and the clarity to really run a business the way it ought to be run. So that's the whole framework. And I think of it in terms of application, by asking 3 questions. And I apply these 3 questions to everything, basically. The what. Okay. What is legacy living as it applies to your business legacy? Well, it's basically a little footprint for how you work with what you want to leave. Your values, how your values, your systems, all that contributes to how you're running your business. And just like I said before, that if you've got a mess, you can't find it, then that what is important. And then the
Yeah.
second question is, so what? Um, what does this mean? You know, what, um, how do you create a digital system that works for you? So that you can save what you want. You want to be sure to save your intellectual property. You want to be able to pass it on. Without systems, your business can just disappear in digital chaos if you're not careful, and it just takes you a longer time to get where you want to go. Um, so a legacy-driven system of business, I think, is more resilient, and it helps to drive where you want to go. And then the third question is, what if? And specifically speaking, let's say, what if your digital files are in a mess? What does that mean to you? Well, it's a threat to your legacy. It simply means you can't find what you're working on, uh, then it's lost. And what if you want to hand over this business to somebody later? What are you going to do with it after you can no longer want to carry it on? What are you going to do
Mhm.
with it? Do you have it in have your files and everything preserved in a way that you can pass it on, sell it, or give it to someone else? So that's basically what it is, and I think how I interpret it to work.
Okay. I the whole thing about digital file clutter, for
Mhm.
example, just like hits me so hard because went through something like this within the last couple of weeks where I
Mhm.
was convinced that I had files
Mhm.
that I could not find. I mean, it's like I knew I had them.
And panic sets in.
Yeah, yeah, and like I needed them for you know, for something that was important to me.
Right.
So, can you talk a little bit about your digital file decluttering process, or
Yeah.
like how you prepare for that, or you know, I know this is a big thing in the work that you're
Yeah.
doing with people around files
It's a
and
it's a
that sort
big
of thing.
area
Yeah.
because it's something I've been doing, and the whole thing about legacy living as it applies to business and life is based on what I do or what I try to do, and so I'm living it, and hopefully I'm sharing what I'm learning with everybody. But
Mhm.
so this file flow course is something that I learned to do. It's called File Flow, Create a Digital System that Works Like You Do. Because everybody works a little bit different.
Mhm.
Everybody's files may look for things a certain way. I mean, you may look for a keyword, for instance. Somebody may look for a date that something happened, or a project, a specific project. So to organize it like you think and the way you work. And so I'm teaching this course right now, and I'm getting feedback. I'm doing it on a very limited level. It's kind of a test teaching, very
Mhm.
limited level, so that I can improve on it. And I'm getting the feedback to add some things to it, change some things around, make it clearer. Because one of the things that is important to me that I've realized that it's important to a lot of people is you don't want a lot of information that you don't need. You want to
Right.
know, what do I need to do right now to
Mhm.
solve this? And so you start in right at the very beginning with doing something. So you start the actual process. So it's only like 4 weeks of an hour at a time. Then there's stuff that you have to do on your own, of course,
Mhm.
but and some co-working in that. But it's I'm planning to teach it again early fall. So I hope people
Okay.
pay attention when that comes around.
Okay.
But,
So give us an example of
okay,
how
well, the very
you're
first thing that happened with, um, I've when I started off, I asked, "Where do you keep your files?" Well, this one person, um, kept all her files basically on her desktop, and it was a mess, and there were folders here and there, and then there were some files, and I was really kind of, like, taken aback because I really didn't think those terms, you know? So, we started talking about how she looked for files, what does she need, how does she want, and then I gave in the course, I give some examples of how you can organize, some
Mhm,
methods, and so she was within the second time done she'd already figured things out, and she said, "This makes so much more sense." And so I'm really pleased at how much progress that she's already made in that. So
mhm.
that's kind of how I approached it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and thinking about how, well, everybody handles those files differently, right? Those digital
Yes.
files differently because, like, when you said all her files were on her desktop, I was like,
I know.
"Oh, oh my." I mean,
Scary.
I probably have too many, but I also just set up a new laptop,
Yeah.
and so that kind of forces the issue of,
Right.
"Okay, what do you need? Where should it go?" All that stuff. So I thought that's pretty interesting. Um, so is there how do you recommend like, let's just take an example. Like, I've had my business since 1996. So,
Mhm.
that's a really long time, and I have a
Mhm.
gazillion digital files, and I probably don't delete as many as I should because I'm
Are
concerned
you
that I'm
gonna
gonna
need
need them
something?
in some way,
Okay.
right? And
Mhm.
that's probably not unusual.
No.
So, let's say someone's starting a new project. Let's say I wanna develop a new product.
Mhm.
Well, a digital product is going to well, any product, any work I do, any work you do, any work everybody does pretty much is
Mhm.
online. So,
Mhm.
what would be your process of like, okay, you can clean up the other stuff later, but why don't we get a process that starts right the minute you
Exactly.
start?
And that's an important point because you can't clean it all up, all you've already done. And I still have files that are in a mess. I have kind of grouped them all together, and I kinda started fresh with new stuff. It's amazing how little I'm going back to some of those old ones, but I don't wanna get rid of them yet. I still kind of like that, I may need it someday, and most people are like that.
Mhm,
But it also depends on, okay, if you're doing a project, are you gonna organize your things by projects, or do you organize them by categories? Or
mm,
do you in other words, this person said that she wanted to use by projects because she is actually teaching um, basically the same course at 4 different colleges.
mhm,
Okay, so she has to keep up with whi which one um, is goes to which college, even though they're different. This she still has, but and then so she created a folder specifically for that college, and then she by categories, she put her, information in, like, okay, syllabi that she was gonna use for a
mhm,
course, the name of the course, um, and then she had a bunch of other things to list, and I also showed her how to if she wanted it in a certain order, so she could and she put all those folders in a certain order when I told her how to do that. So now
mhm,
when she looks at them, they're all similar in structure, and so she can immediately look and see what she's looking for.
mhm.
So she's clearing off that desktop.
Yeah.
She's putting them in another place, and that's one of the problems that I still struggle with is too, not only how do you name them and where do you put them, but, so where do you store them? Instead of just in
Right.
one, like my documents or whatever, because I've
Right.
got them in
Right.
too many different places. And right now I'm trying to get them off, some of them, narrow it down to just the ones that will meet my needs.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
I just like to keep a lot of articles I come across. My biggest problem is, as a lifelong learner, when I see some, oh, I can use that. I need that. I, you know, and I can use it, but I don't need it right now. So I've got to
Okay, how do you
save it.
save what do you do with those?
Yeah.
How do you manage those? "Oh, I need this." 'Cause I'll tell you how I manage it, but I wanna hear your
Okay.
process first.
Well, it also depends on what it is I'm saving. I mean,
Mhm.
some things like right now, I've doing a lot of keeping a lot of the basic structure of what I'm doing in Workflowy. I don't know if you're familiar with
Work
Workflowy.
Workflowly.
Flowy. Mhm.
No.
And so I divide it up. It's got like an inbox is where you start out putting anything you want to put, and then you can move it over into whatever files or topics that you have, um, created. Okay, so I have 2 big ones. One is action files, and then one is reference.
Ah,
So
that's good.
I put, in action, I've actually got it by days. It's basically a calendar, and
Mhm.
under each one of the days, it doesn't show us a calendar, it just lists the dates, but I can plug stuff under them, and you can hit little bullets and put stuff under it, and then
Mhm.
I check it off when I've completed it, and I'll move on to the next thing, and move stuff. If I've got something coming up, move it into a specific space, and then I
Mhm.
still got some things in inbox that I don't know what I want to do with yet, but I don't want 'em to get away from me. But and then my
Okay.
reference, I've got that organized so that basically by keyword.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what do
Yeah.
you do?
I use Google Keep. It's
Mhm,
and because I use, like, everything in the Google ecosphere, or,
yeah,
whatever, the whole
mhm,
world of Google, so I figure it's easier to stay in line with
yeah,
things that connect with each other, and I've been using it for a few years, and it's keyword driven,
mhm,
or labels, they call them, so and there's a, um Chrome extension. So if I'm
mhm,
on a website where I wanna save the article, for my for a client or for anybody, for anything, or to put it in my Friday finds on your Visibility Edge, then I just click on that, and then I label it where I want it to go. So, for example, things that I wanna curate for your Visibility Edge, I have a Visibility Edge curation tag, so or
mhm,
label, and so then I just add that, and it sometimes what I wish I would do more often is say where I found the thing or who recommended it so that I would remember that stuff,
mhm,
but I don't do that all the time. It's usually I just get grab that URL and save it, and then I can go back to it when I want. Um, I find, and maybe you have a suggestion for this, is that I start getting too in the weeds, too niched down with my
mhm,
saving things, and then I
yeah,
don't remember, did I save it as a this or a that, you know? Is that
exactly,
something
exactly.
you've helped people
That's
with?
something I've certainly experienced because 'cause I'm still and even now I struggle with that because I have to think about, um, what is what would I look for? How would I look
Mhm.
if I really wanted it again, what would I be looking for? You
Bingo.
know?
Yeah.
So, and then that helps me decide where to put it and how to name it.
Mhm.
But I wish I had started a long, long time ago because I've still got all those files that, oh, I thought this is the best way to do it, and then it just got out of hand, it's
Yeah.
just too
Yeah.
much. But also, you need to have your categories broad enough that, um, you don't get down have to niche down too far.
Right.
Because if you go down to about the 3rd level is as much as you probably need to go down in
Yeah.
terms of because you get much further than that, and they're in so deep you can't find anything if you get it too specific.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you kind of have
So
to think about it ahead of time. How do you work? What are you looking for? and how will you be looking for it? And that helps you define the system that you're going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
use.
I think that's why I like, staying in the Google sphere
Hmm.
just because, search is their strong point. So if
Yeah.
I could, I mean, you can search anything anywhere, in any
Hmm.
system for the most part. But I just, anyway, let's get back to legacy. Okay. How do you help clients connect their daily work to their business legacy long term?
Okay. Their to their business legacy. Their what
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
okay.
So, like
Yeah.
every day you're creating something, most
Yeah.
people are. So, how do they connect that or how you help them connect that to their long term legacy? Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Well, the same things apply in like the Coke framework. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, if you've got okay, your daily stuff that has to be organized just like your business stuff. It's just two different pieces of content, basic if you think of it like
Mhm.
that. Okay, but it's also um, is what you're doing daily, is that interfering, taking away time from focusing on your business? I mean, because one of the things I've been doing is to try to declutter some of the things. I've got too much stuff. And that came from, okay, closing two estates of two sets of parents. You don't know what to get. Getting rid of sentimental things is really difficult to do, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to focus on, just saving some of the memories sometimes. But when things are in disarray, I have work trouble focusing on what I need to do for business because the same mindset carries over. And I
Right.
think your mindset is huge. And that's a starting point, really. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
um,
So it sounds like there needs to be a lot of attention to putting a mindset and
mhm,
processes in place first,
yeah,
you know, before you can tackle the actual legacy stuff. So that if
yes,
you, I'm just trying to synthesize this for my in my
yeah,
brain here, is that is that
mhm,
if you look at it from legacy first, like, is this something that if I'm creating, whether it's something for my business,
mhm,
a product, or working with a client, or whatever it is that a legacy, something that I should be thinking of in terms of legacy, so I start the process early of making sure it's uh, systemized properly, organized properly, and preserved properly. Let's see, get
mhm,
that? See what I did there?
yeah.
uh,
Good.
um, versus just doing it and then like 3 months later going, I wonder, maybe I should have like organized that
Yeah,
somewhere.
but I think the starting point is thinking, of course. But in terms of thinking of it as legacy, I don't think it's as important as thinking of it as what matters to me,
Hmm.
and then that is your legacy. When you're doing things that matter to you, things um, that are important to you, that you feel that you're really contributing in some way, then that's your legacy. So it's kind of a all-encompassing broad thing, but it's not like, "Okay, I'm gonna plan my legacy." It's more like,
Hmm.
"What are these things and where do they fit in terms of how important are they? What do I need to do with them?" And one of the things that I'm doing right now is, we I read somewhere people make semi-conscious decisions, what, about 38,000 a day? So, you're making so many decisions that you're not even conscious of,
Right.
and
Okay.
I think starting with the decisions is huge, and I'm putting together some questions to ask myself at every point, about how
Hmm.
important this is, what I would need to do with it, and how I need to do it, so that I can just at a glance, oh yeah, and then that develops my system is through those series of questions.
Okay. Yeah, and I like that, when you were saying, first ask yourself, like before you actually just dive into something? What, so what, and what if?
Yeah.
I mean, those are three very powerful questions, and they it sounds so simple, but in
Yeah.
that framework, it is a way to then organize what you're working
Mhm.
on as you go along instead
Yeah,
of after the fact when you probably won't do it.
exactly. And
Okay,
those 3
speaking for
questions
myself, just speaking for
can
myself.
do it for you, right.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
the what if when I was taught, one of the things I taught was childcare services for,
Mhm,
students that went out and worked in childcare centers in high school, and so I would give them scenarios of how what would you do? And they would I called them whiffs, WHIF, whiff, what if? What if this happened? Then what would you do?
mhm,
So, that has been I thought it was a very powerful process then, and it's one that I think that I've carried on because it does help you think through it a little better.
mhm, mhm. So, what kind of changes do you see with the people you're working with, like business owners, for example, when
Mhm.
they're starting to align their business legacy with their personal and professional values?
Well, one of the things that I noted, when I retired, I I didn't think a lot about the decisions I made during the day and during, so forth because my focus was take care of my family and my career. And I didn't think much about me and what I wanted, in long term or anything like that. And then when I
Mhm,
retired, it was like, "Oh, now what do I do? I can't sit on the porch and play Sudoku puzzles forever." So, um, and it took a long time for me to get to this point, and things have evolved based on who I've worked with. Your network is so important. Get the right people
mhm,
to ask the right questions to. Okay, I know that now that I've wasted a lot of time. Um, but I think you need to if you'll get clear on what do you want to do? What do you want to leave? What is your legacy? What do you want to do? If you get clear, then you start with okay, who can help me do this? And then start asking yourself some of the questions and use what you know.
mhm,
It's especially I think older people, it's more valuable than they realize. There's many things I thought, oh, everybody knows that, you know, and then I find no, everybody doesn't know that because
mhm,
this person I'm talking about that had all her files on the desktop. I thought, oh, she's so smart. How come she didn't know that? But sometimes just the little things will help you take that next step.
mhm.
And I don't even remember now what the question was. I just got off talking there. So,
That's all right. I'm just wondering what kind of changes you have seen in others, when they start to apply what you're those important questions, what if, and so no, what, so what, and what if. Like, when they start taking action on that, are you s you know,
yeah, well, I think
how is that
the next
how's that
step
impact?
becomes clearer. The
Yeah.
next step becomes clear, and that's you can't I always try I used to try to lay it all out. I had to
Mhm,
have it from beginning to end, you know, and actually what I have learned the hard way is if you start doing something, the next step will come because the doing in the process, you start thinking about things will come to you. I used to say I relied a lot on a vision in the night to give me that idea, but doing it will help you get that vision, you know,
yeah,
actually.
yeah. I think you're right. Um, so I want to, we're about at the 30-minute mark, so I'd like to give you a few rapid fire questions just to get the lay of the land
Okay.
with where you are. So, uh, one daily habit that supports your legacy.
Um, in terms of my business, I think it's important to take a few minutes every day to curate the content that I want to be using and put it in a place where I can find it and make sure that my files are named so that I have that process in place and be able to find that content later because so much of the content that I come across I don't need right now.
Right,
You
right.
know, it's not appropriate right now, but oh, it's so good I just don't want to let it go. So
Okay.
I have to
So
be, but
so
I've
put it in
also
an organized process.
I've
All right,
also
good.
cut down on how much I look at,
Okay.
especially email. I like to get my email to an inbox 0, and I do that every few days or week,
I gave up on
and
that a long time ago. I don't
well
believe in that.
I didn't delete anything, I just archived it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that way I
yeah,
can
yeah.
always still search for it, but it gets in the way, and there's too many I look just on the side and start clicking 'em past them. And then I click them all, and then I unclick the ones I want to read and let the rest go.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Okay. First digital file you delete to clear space.
Uh, well, if your point is to clear space, the first thing I would do is to look at duplicate graphic files because graphic files take up so much space, and
They do.
and
Yes.
typically they're not always named. I know
That's
it may
true
be
too.
image 1935, 1936, and you don't even know what they are, and so that's hard to go back to and clear up because you have to go through them one by one, but,
Yeah.
um
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, clear image files. Yeah.
mhm,
One word you would use to describe a thriving business.
I would say
Aligned.
because
Okay.
aligned, because if you align everything through this code process, if that will help you get it all together, I think. It's working for
Okay.
me, so
Okay. So remind people, we've had a few people jump on just in the last few minutes. So one, if you have a question in the audience, you can type it into the chat, and I'll make sure that Vicki gets it. Um, but remind people what COPE stands for, and then how people can learn more about the COPE process as part of their legacy planning.
okay, COPE stands for clear clutter, organize, preserve, and empower. And I have a COPE framework getting started checklist that's on the homepage of my website, which is herlifehacks.com. And that's
Okay.
a freebie. Um, and it basically is divided by each of the sections, clear clutter, organizing. It just gives you some ideas to get started. It's not
Okay.
all inclusive by any means, but also on that COPE framework checklist, under clear clutter is a business track digital declutter checklist, which gets a little more specific. And all you have to do is when you click on a file, it'll open up and download it immediately. You don't have to do anything else to it to get it.
Okay. Twofer. It's a twofer.
Yeah, a twofer. And it's divided into 3 sections: archive, simplify, and let go, to help you start thinking about those kinds of things.
Okay, that sounds very useful. I have to take a look at that. I might have already downloaded,
But where did you
but
put
where would
it?
I have put it? Therein lies the problem. Okay, yeah. So I got some work to do, I think. Also, you have a presence here on Substack, so people, and I
Yes.
know that you write about legacy and business legacy and life legacy and the frameworks that you use. You do have a business track around legacy. So if anyone, if you want to,
Mhm.
hit the, at the top of the, well, go find Vicki Peel. Vickipeel.
And
Vicky
one of the
Peel.
things other things that is specifically for business that I'm working on is I've been getting into bot creation a lot lately, and I've been really excited about that, and doing a one thing that you want to solve very simply, and I've got one for business, I've got 2 other ones going that I'm working on, so I'm looking forward to getting those out there.
Is this your vibe coding experiment?
No.
No? Okay. Okay.
Well, but
Well,
and not well, I guess it is in terms of what vibe coding means, but, um, I probably go about it a little bit differently, so
okay.
I'm
All right.
pulling
Oh,
from
I
here,
can't
there,
wait to
and
see that. I can't wait to see
okay.
that. All
I'm
right.
getting excited about it.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Vicky, for
Thank
joining
you,
me
Denise.
today. It's very helpful. Apply the COPE framework, COPE. Ask yourself 3 questions when you're starting something or when you're looking to determine whether it's part of your legacy. What? So what if? I get that right?
Mhm. Yep, that's good.
Okay, so thank you for being here with me today. I really
Thank you,
appreciate
Denise.
it. And the replay will be published on Friday, and I'll have all the links to find Vicky's resources for helping you to start your legacy today and clear the clutter. Clear the clutter. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
Denise. Bye-bye.